Yeah, I'm Danny Boyle, the director of the film. On a pure sci-fi level, travelling to the sun is great visually. But also psychologically, getting close to the source of all creation in our universe, which for us is that star. It always seems to suit space films that they begin as ensembles, so you don't know who's going to die and who's going to survive or whatever. I think it's essentially optimistic. I try to make optimistic films, really. Although some of them might be a bit tough, there's a life spirit in them, I hope, that kind of transcends that. So you feel kind of more alive when you come out, really, than when you went in.
Do I have to spell it out for you? We have a payload to deliver to the heart of our nearest star. We're delivering that payload because that star is dying, and if it dies, we die. Everything about the delivery and effectiveness of that payload is entirely theoretical.
At least now we know what happened on Icarus I. The same thing that's happening here.
Kaneda, Kappa, get back to the airlock now.
No! Kappa, I order you to remove that suit. Get out of the suit! Hey! I'm fucked up! Kaneda!
Just remember, it takes 8 minutes for light to travel from sun to Earth.
Shallow Grave and Trainspotting are such important films for me growing up.
Shallow Grave.
Shallow Grave.
As same in 28 Days Later.
His body of work speaks for himself. Danny Boyle, to me, is
A-list. I mean, he's one of the best directors around.
God, Danny's such a pain in the...
Well, you know, Danny's really good.
He's, that's me again.
I mean, Danny's a very physical, director.
If he was here, I'd throw him out the window.
He doesn't compromise.
That's what you need in a good director. You need someone who's confident in their vision, a strong leader.
Because you know what these videos are like. You know, you feel like they're you see all these actors, and it looks like they're kind of trying to save their careers or something.
He's a perfectionist. And his films are normally quite intense experiences.
Get him out! Stop! Come here! Fuck, it's an hour in there! I can't get my package home, the wind is too high! All right, settle down, relax, Mace!
The guy has such an amazing way of articulating what he's trying to get out of a scene or out of the film.
From your arms and your expression.
I think Danny's got a pretty wild, subversive mind.
That's why I'm very respecting with him.
Your face is trapped.
And I'm very happy to work with him.
I think it's going to be a visual masterpiece.
Wonderful lighting, yeah, beautiful. And he's always, because Danny's pretty fluid a lot with what he does. I think he changes his mind of a day or a shot. God, I hope I'm not talking too much shit, am I?
That's the reason why you work with different directors, in hope that they would see something different in you and bring out a different aspect that especially your audience have not seen before.
He's forever thinking about that bigger picture, and it's all kind of organic and it's still melding.
And I think that is what Danny does the best. He really sees from angles that, I've read the script so many times and I didn't see it coming like that. His hair stands up. I hope you get a good shot of that. He goes like this. And all his hair stands up. Zero gravity. He's cool. He's a rock star.
And what have you got to do with Sunshine?
Sunshine?
This is the film that we're on.
Hi, I'm Teddy Richards and I'm a professional or commercial pilot, display pilot and instructor. And I've been here today with Sunshine, giving all the guys and the crew an idea of what it is to be in zero G and also to fly an aircraft.
Wow!
Cool.
Oh, zero gravity is cool, but a G4 on you is like...
Really?
Yeah, it was a good experience for them, I think. Put them all in the right frame of mind to think what they could be going through. And just generally seeing the world upside down for something like 25, 30 seconds in the aircraft kind of like blew them away.
Roll us upside down. Whoa! There we go. That's what the Earth would look like in orbit. Or should we roll the right way up? Wow.
Oh, it was great. Oh, I want to get my license.
And it's beautiful out there.
Feel a little bit nauseous though. You would have to put this on after the watershed.
I did use a lot of profanities.
Zero G is fantastic. I could spend a lot of time in zero G.
My name is Cillian Murphy and I play Kappa. Kappa, the physicist on board the ship. He is in charge of the payload, the bomb, which means that it's quite a lot of responsibility, and I guess that because he's more from a more scientific background. And
we took Cillian to CERN in Geneva to give him an idea of what it's like to live and work as a physicist.
they have this particle accelerator, which is like 27 kilometers long underneath. They're smashing particles into each other to recreate the conditions of the Big Bang, effectively. And so I just hung out with physicists and asked questions about like the end of the world and the meaning of life.
He's a fine actor himself, but beyond the acting technique is this strange, mysterious thing, which is that you put your hopes and your fears into him as you watch the film, and he's got that thing. And really, for a film, you have to have a lead actor like that, who people will place all their expectations within that person, really, as they take them through the film.
The sun is going to die. It's not science fiction. The sun is going to die in the future, and do we stand in the way of, nature or God, or do we control our own destiny to a degree?
Hi, my name is Sean Matheson, and I play the Previs supervisor for Danny Boyle's currently untitled Sunshine project. Previs is kind of a 3D storyboard where you can move through space. It's all about the architecture of the visual effect shots. So we figure out what it could be like on the surface of the sun, or outside the spaceship, or flying out of airlocks, or any of the other environments that we're going to go to over the course of the film.
Previs is simply to show you what the ultimate will look like, because a lot of the shots, they take so long to actually program and render that you won't see the end result for 12 weeks. You have to know that it's going to be suitable, that you're not going to change your mind and go, oh no, I didn't mean that. Because once that's done, there's a staggering amount of money committed.
So in the first phase, we make these little short films. I use a piece of music that kind of captures the mood. Generally, I try to build all the drama shots with the sun in the background and the spaceship and whatever else needs to go on. Danny looks at that and reviews it, gives me all the notes about whatever to change so that it's actually telling the story in the way that he wants it, now able to see it as an edited piece of film.
My feeling overall is that they should be smaller.
And, I don't remember what was I talking about?
98% of the solar system's mass is in the sun. You can fit over 1 million Earths into it. So it really dominates the solar system. Everything else really doesn't matter. Yeah, 4,806.
No, it's 5,750. Is sunlight.
Yeah, and then this stuff's 4,800.
Yeah, which is cooler than so tungsten filament in a light, or whatever this is cooler than the surface of the sun, but not that much. That's the surface of the sun. Inside it's a wee bit hotter.
Inside it's 16 million degrees.
Yeah, that's what I said.
It's gas. I mean, it really may well not. Well,
dense gas. It's a very dense gas.
Yeah. What's that figure? Right. Surface of the sun about 6,000 degrees. The core 16 million degrees, but the density in the core, and this is really, hydrogen, it's not really gas, you call it plasma. The pressure is 340 billion times atmospheric pressure on the Earth. 340,000 million times. So if you fell into the centre of the sun, you wouldn't be very big.
I was a child actor, so I started acting when I was 5 years old. Shooting film is my life.
Everyone take a moment. Trey?
It's not only business, not only job, This film has very deep meaning and very important thing. The story, character, and mission. Of course, science fiction, but real. I need something like that.
A hole hasn't burned in the side of the ship. We don't have a 10,000 degree climate, so what's the actual damage?
I've learned a lot this time. How huge space is, and then how small the Earth is, and how small my problem is, you know. I felt that.
Look back to the flight deck.
Nice. Try it again.
This is a big scale spaceship drama, but I believe this is a great human drama. They're professional scientists and astronauts, but human being. 8 people living together. Long time, and something's happened.
Stop. You did it already. There's 8 astronauts strapped to the back of a bomb and flying towards the sun. It's really insane when you think about it. Hi, my name's Troy Garrity, and I play Harvey, the communications officer on Sunshine.
And action.
I've always been a fan of sci-fi. I've always wanted to do a sci-fi film, but it's hard to find a good script that's true to the genre. Alex Garland really did it. It's an interesting, very deep philosophical script, but maybe that's just because I've read it 200 times. The greatest part of the script actually happens on page 85, where I have to... Those are things you're not supposed to know. As an actor, you sit there in front of these control panels, and it's really fun to pretend that you know what you're doing. But actually, everything on the ship is designed to be real, that it's logical, that our technology is paving the way for these inventions. It's a big stretch for me to play Harvey, because we're basically on a mission that the likelihood of survival is not great. So a lot of the film deals with our relationship with the eventual end. And I think my character imagines himself to be brave.
Kappa, I order you to remove that suit. Get out of the suit!
But he proves to, well, I guess just to be normal, to be human. I don't know, I'm blabbering.
No, I like it. It goes really good.
Are you cheapo?
Yes.
So you're doing the voice of the computer?
Yes. I think they figured out a technology which hooks up to their little comms units that I speak through.
For this production, because they wanted to have these practical devices around the neck, these have got little speakers in next to the little blue flashing thing, which I'm sure you've seen.
Hey, Chris.
Yes, Dr. Searle. It's their link to Icarus, the mainframe, and there's a sort of biometric aspect to it.
Warning. The biometric data on your comms link is showing that your oxygen consumption is insufficient.
They all have practical communicators on, so they can actually speak to each other and hear each other.
We transmit to that. We can transmit anything we want to. In fact, when we had Cliff Curtis, being a Kiwi himself, when the rugby was on, it was quite useful to play the England-New Zealand game through the clackers.
You think I'd know anything about rugby? I don't know.
So we have a lady who comes along and talks as Icarus's voice. She'll read into a mic somewhere on the set, somewhere off around the back.
Your oxygen, your oxygen, your oxygen, your oxygen.
And that comes out either of a speaker or out of these little clackers, as we call them.
At this distance of 36 million miles.
The quality has to be quite soothing, because she's all-knowing, she knows what's going on.
Coolant from port stabilizer redirected to rear engines.
I do think of her as an angel, as far as vocal quality is concerned.
For gas emergencies or any gas leakages, press 1 now.
But that's why they need her to be reassuring, because you go crazy.
Hello, I'm Michelle Yeoh, and I play Corazon, the botanist / astronaut / scientist the one who is in charge of the oxygen garden.
All right, don't shoot, please.
I guess, when you're in a spaceship, everything is gray or white, with wires and all this kind of stuff. Suddenly you walk into this oxygen garden, which is green. Amazing, green. And I have tomato plants growing, I have carrots growing, because, we're adding some color and some taste to our food.
What we were trying to do was to get the sense that you had sort of fields of grass in space. We really liked the idea of there being crops. And we looked at sort of big flat plains and stuff, and then when this tube idea came up, it sort of fitted. And in a way we wanted some spaces to be sensory. You have water and you have growing objects. Really, it's quite a pleasant place to be.
And obviously in the spaceship Icarus II, her oxygen garden is the thing that sustains the crew, sustains the spaceship for the length of duration of time that they have to complete their mission. So she's very important. They wouldn't survive without her. Nobody dies. This is a family film. What are you talking about?
Whatever it was that tripped them up, I don't think it was the lack of oxygen.
This movie has turned out to be a very, in a way, it's definitely a psychological. In a way, it's a spiritual. It's, in a way, a very intense journey that a lot of us think about but have not had an opportunity to venture to. And it suddenly seems like, for us, the 8 of us on Icarus II, we've had that opportunity. It's right there for us.
Okay, Sam, are we good to go?
When you look out into space, what are you looking at? What are you looking for? And when you look at the sun, I think if you stare at it long enough, you might lose your soul.
On the flight deck there are 70 screens. Most of the screens are sort of generic background, but some are very scene specific, so that they work alongside the dialogue or alongside the action. The screens have been designed by the art department. We have 2 people, Anita Dillon, who has designed the whole look of the graphics on the ship, and Ant McGrath, who's taking her basic ideas and then animating those to go onto the screens.
This is a whole mainframe computer, massive spaceship. There needs to be some kind of interface, and each square represents information within an area. And these are constantly moving, like kind of almost nano and organic, really alive. So it's moving around, all these boxes are moving around. When you want to administer an area, it would, a bit like an old library microfiche machine, sort itself out like this, and then the screen would pop up. I don't know if you get that from when you see it, but that was the idea.
I've actually got an example of that.
Yeah.
Microfiche.
Yes, microfiche.
So this is kind of like Icarus II booting up. This was all interactive on set, so the actors themselves could actually, at the touch of a button, pretty much control systems. There's other graphics that we kind of have that have been kind of very scene specific, like this one when they're talking about slingshotting around and finding a faint signature.
Icarus, please plot our trajectory following the slingshot around Mercury.
Didn't want to make the graphics very bold and flashy. I wanted to keep it quite technical looking. I think a lot of graphics that you see in films sometimes can make it look like you're a bit stupid. And if it says danger, danger, it's very big.
Too obvious.
Too obvious, and it's obvious the person who obviously is flying the ship would understand that they know how to work this, otherwise they wouldn't be up there. If there's something wrong, it would just be a slight orange highlight, and they'd be able to pinpoint that. And then if it got a bit more critical, it would be a flashing red. And then when it's completely critical, it would just be dead red. And that would mean, that's pretty bad.
Visually, it's very important that the film is unusual cinematically. The balance of darkness and light was key to it, really. They're surrounded by darkness and confronted by eternal light.
I'm sure every DOP would want to shoot a science fiction film.
You're photographing the sun. I mean, there aren't many better jobs, I don't think.
Only when I started to prep it, I kind of realized how bloody difficult it's going to be. I never ever can compete with the beauty of the real sun. One thing I also wanted to get across is the physical sense of light. We would shoot certain sequences in a very dark environment. So as an audience, you get used to the darkness, so that when we come to see the shot where the sun plays a role, that hopefully, you will have also a physical reaction. One of the reasons I also liked the idea of shooting anamorphic was that artificial light sources should have a slightly alienating feeling about it. One thing the anamorphic lenses give you is this horizontal flare. So then we shot the actual sun footage. We all shot on normal Super 35 because we wanted to have circular flare. So that was one of the ideas was to get different flares of the natural and the artificial light sources. So Alvin Küchler, DOP. That's it.
I'm Cliff Curtis, and I am an actor, and I play the role of Dr. Searle on the Icarus II ship mission to save the world by, going to the sun and seeing what we can do to keep it alive. Was that too long? Okay, or do you want to do a shorter version? I'm Cliff Curtis, and I play the role of Dr. Searle.
May I put a counter-argument? No! Captain.
Here's what may be considered a kind of an odd behaviour. He sort of goes and spends all day looking at the sun. And he spends all day looking at the sun because he's doing an experiment on himself. He wants to... Because Icarus I failed, he's trying to understand what was it that made them fail. As a scientist, what he does is he puts himself in the most extreme conditions to examine what happens to himself physically, but also what happens to himself psychologically, And he starts to see something. He starts to see the possibility that the sun may be the face of God. And he starts to think, when he's looking at the sun, that maybe the sun is trying to communicate something. Do we have the right as human beings to change the course of nature? To go against nature? The sun's dying. What right have we got to question the wisdom of nature?
What are you actually going to be doing in a minute? In a minute,
we are going to put all three of them, the doubles for Harvey, Mace and Kappa, onto the three wire rigs in their flying harnesses and just literally get them running up and down at speed without actually slamming them into the side of the spaceship today. We'll do that next week.
And get away with trying to put on as much padding as possible until to limit the damage to yourself. That's what it's all about at the end of the day, is walking away, hopefully not too hurt.
Because it's got to be that violent, and as Danny wants it that way, they've smashed, they bounce off getting bashed up, violently blasted, slamming into them quite hard. That'll be the speed we bring them along, and that's done by the guys at the end of the ropes. We'll build it up slowly, they will get bashed around, but that's the idea of it.
3, 2, 1, go!
Bumps and bruises happen all the time, and it's in some ways, in a sick way, it's kind of nice because you think you've earned your money if you come away with a little bump or a bruise.
Yep, Trey is the navigator of the ship, and he was discovered as a child prodigy.
We wanted this genius who makes a mistake.
He feels responsible for letting down the team. He feels responsible for letting down the planet Earth.
Alex created a great backstory for him, which is that he'd created this virus in Hong Kong that had collapsed 2/3 of the world's computers.
So instead of going to some sort of Borstal or they decided to groom him in the space program.
You don't get much sense of that in the film, but he's got a great presence, and he lives with it. He has this terrible guilt that he lives with, having made this one single tiny little mistake.
He's fucked up big time.
It's a terrible burden he has to carry right the way through the film.
They are an elite team of astronauts and scientists, and that one time when he's supposed to be doing it, he fucks up, and that's it. And that's like you say, that there's that massive pressure that gets to you, and it's quite a dark place.
Yeah, I once spoke to an astronaut, Story Musgrave, who's, I think, flown on every shuttle launch vehicle, even the two that have been subsequently destroyed, so he's the only guy ever to do that. He fixed the Hubble Space Telescope. And I asked him, are you nervous when you're sitting on this thing? When I would be nervous. And he first said, I wouldn't be able to do my job if I was nervous. And then he said, actually, anyone who isn't a bit nervous when they're sitting on top of, 100,000 tons of liquid hydrogen, oxygen, or whatever it is, doesn't understand the problem. It's like you said, it's like sitting on a
that's
firework.
exactly it. It's not just a firework, it's a bomb. The bone structure of the human body has developed and evolved over the, say, 2 million years that humans, or other animals as well with skeletons, in order to support the muscular frame and the organs of the body. So it's there, a device to hold you up. You put yourself in space, perhaps in a zero gravity environment, then the skeleton no longer has to do that work. And very quickly it recognizes the fact that it's not supporting you in gravity anymore, so it starts to lose its mechanical strength.
No, dead coming. Jack Schmidt having a few problems.
I mean, there are other physiological problems. For example, your heart doesn't have to work as hard because your heart spends most of its time pumping blood up to your head, and it's doing that against the force of gravity. Now, if you go into space for a long time, it's a muscle, doesn't exercise as much. So things like your cardiovascular system start behaving differently because they can do. Because your body's a lazy thing. You know that. If you don't exercise, you sit on watching TV all day and eating, you get fat and blobby.
4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition and liftoff.
Well, if you're in space in zero gravity, you don't have to work as hard, so you have to be very careful, and that's why there are a lot of exercise machines you see on the International Space Station, although they don't do everything they need to. I mean, as Robin said, the bone wastage I don't think is really solved at the moment, and certainly for a 3-year space flight, that's a big problem.
We worked on the spacesuit first. I have a sketchbook of hundreds of pages of doodles and whatnot. A huge book of collage of references and stuff that I then handed the drawings and a bunch of the reference over to the spacesuit manufacturing team.
Samurai, medieval body armour, deep sea diving suits. Kenny from South Park. Danny really, from the outset, fell in love with a material called mylar.
NASA actually uses mylar. If you see those pictures of the lunar module, there's a gold blanket around it that's sort of patterned to fit parts of it. The mylar is essential because it reflects the sunlight and the radiation. Yeah. But also, if it were to collect any heat, it immediately dissipates because it's so thin.
It's like an insulating foil that runners use. Hello? Sorry, who? It's to do with a script reference that it was built from tiny mirrors that reflected radiation and harmful rays and that type of technology. He just loved its reflective qualities, yeah, and it just gave real life, and it's quite beautiful really against black. Spacesuits in real life are quite restricting. We were very conscious of trying to create as much movement in the suit as possible. What we developed is rings that interlock with each other around the legs and the arms and the wrists and everything else. You could run in it in theory, which you can't do in a spacesuit, but that's what we had to do.
Seal sections 5 through 9. Copy, sealing 5 through 9.
Hey Cassie, whatever you do, don't move the shit.
I'm Rose Byrne and I play Cassie, the pilot of Icarus II. My initial attraction to the project was definitely Danny Boyle, his new film obviously, and Alex Garland who wrote the screenplay. Very intrigued. And then once, because it was called Sunshine, it was quite misleading. I thought it was like a romantic comedy or something. The script arrived and it was really top secret and no one had the script, and the studio had sent me the script, and I was in LA and I remember reading it going, gosh, I'm so privileged to even read this kind of thing. It wasn't something that was just being handed out. And it was the best thing I'd read for you know, about a year. It was so good. It's very well written.
Rose, yeah. Well, she's extraordinary, really, Rose. As soon as the camera switches on, transforms as a person, really. Has an electric kind of presence, really.
Cassie.
I know the argument. I know the logic. You're saying you need my vote. I'm saying you can't have it.
And then when it stops, she just drifts away, not really particularly interested in what's going on, and but as soon as it turns on, she's just there. She's able to just be there like that.
Rehearsal, please.
The biggest adjustment is doing scenes that are technical, that involve buttons and talking to microphones and looking at blank screens and not really addressing the person next to you. You don't get to sort of react off anything real. The challenge is adjusting to doing quite technical scenes, but that are very dramatic and that are very sort of, you know, the stakes are very high, life or death, all the time.
I'm Michelle Day and I'm the set decorator. My responsibilities, everything that you see surface level, props, etc. This is Harvey's room. Harvey is the communication officer. He has a wife back home, and one of his character notes referred to the fact that he was kind of secretly harbouring a great love for his wife.
Harvey is he's a romantic, and he keeps us hidden from the rest of the crew because I guess it's weak.
I wrote a whole series of love letters, and then I hid some of them actually in the set.
I didn't know they did it, and I shot a scene in there and in my bedroom, and I read it, and they were so beautiful and touching.
He discovered them and came afterwards and said that it sort of made him quite emotional, which is quite good. I was quite pleased that he found those and that they, you know, that I'd made the effort, and you know, and it was just something that then maybe added hopefully to his performance.
I play Mace. He's an engineer. He's from a military background. He's very cut and dry. He's morally uncomplicated.
So that is our mission. There is nothing, literally, nothing more important than completing our mission.
Sunshine is about 8 astronauts that are going to space to deliver a bomb to the sun because the sun is going to burn out. The first time a group of astronauts went to deliver this payload, they were never heard from again.
Do I have to spell it out for you? We have a payload to deliver to the heart of our nearest star. We're delivering that payload because that star is dying, and if it dies, we die.
It's kind of an examination of human nature put under pressure. What's your breaking point? There's a scene where I have to get in the water, these massive tanks, these 4 tanks of water. So the water had to be even colder, just above freezing. But then Danny's telling me stories how he's, you know, running in naked.
And I went swimming in the sea once in Brighton on Christmas Day.
Running in naked.
I couldn't feel anything down there.
But we're not going to do that.
Danny's just a nut job.
Okay, and action, Chris.
Yeah, it was a horrible day of work. Just, you know, you go in and just be like, ooh, I can't believe I have to get in this water. It's going to be so cold. So cold.
But then those young actors, they love a challenge like that, like something physical, which is tough, and they're going to get a lot of kind of kudos from the crew for doing it. They love it because it gives them a challenge and it makes them, you know, the man on the day. You know, everybody's hats off to them.
Checking the gates. DA, can I stand by to walk Chris up, please?
So, you know, you just got to do it. You just got to man up and bite the bullet.
The weird things about doing a film like this is that you spend what appears to be an eternity filming it, and then you stop, and normally when you get to that process you cut it together and you have a film, but in this case you don't. You have a 3-legged dog, really, because the CG isn't there.
And he's looking at Earth. Earth is all around you, Kel, now.
The modern kind of taste is to say, oh, we don't do CG, we'll try to do it all real. But with a film like this, it's not even a question of that. You've got to embrace, you know, what's wonderful about CG.
The key visual effects shots that we're really dealing with are the exterior of the ship of Icarus II and the sun.
One of the hardest things has been able to get the scale of the sun, how incredibly massive and incomprehensibly large the sun actually is.
The scale of everything to do with it is just phenomenal. It loses 4 million tons of matter every second. It has massive prominence ejections of matter constantly on its surface, which it ejects at 1 million miles an hour. just ludicrous values that we're constantly competing with. I think at the very least it'll be beautiful and awe-inspiring. I hope it's kind of edge of the seat terrifying as well.
The thing that separates humans from other animals is that Prometheus stole fire from the gods on Mount Olympus and gave it to mortals.
3, 2, 1, action!
Sam Conway. Special effects. Lots of bangs. Lots of flame.
Big flashes. Fire. Explosion. Fireballs.
Bang, 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 bang. That's the time bangs. And then gas. Big, bright.
Don't like that? No, of course you can't. Now, come on, be sensible. This is really sensitive stuff. I'm going to just chuck you out of here in a minute.
He just blows this set apart.
It will be loud, ladies and gentlemen, so it depends on what's required.
Yeah, we didn't get enough flame from it. Well, I don't think we had enough on it.
It's all down in the end to his instinct of measurement, so that he flares in front of the camera, but actually in a second it's gone.
And you know, fire is nothing more than sunlight stored. So when you light a log in your fireplace, what you're witnessing is the release of the sunlight that was stored a long time ago in a primeval forest. So there's something wonderful about staring at a fire and realizing that this is just another manifestation of sunlight coming out in another way.
What would happen, briefly from the science point of view, if the sun died?
If the sun died?
If the sun died, what would happen?
Oh, well, you have to really ask Brian Cox about that, because I've forgotten really, but...
Paradoxically, if the sun stops burning hydrogen fuel, if it runs out of hydrogen fuel, it expands. So actually the Earth, strangely, gets hotter for a time. In fact, it gets very hot because it ends up inside the sun, because the sun swells up to beyond the orbit of the Earth. So we get toasted, strangely enough. Now, if you just turn the sun off somehow, and so it just gets cooler, and it's not because it's run out of hydrogen, it's some other reason, then the Earth would obviously get colder, and it'd get cold very quickly. If you just turn the sun off, actually, within 8 minutes, we'd be very cold indeed. It's perpetual night.
Now hang on, you've got no cloud cover, you get a cold snap, you're down 20 degrees in hours, aren't you? Right? You lose the temperature within hours, down to say freezing point. If you're in Siberia, you lose another 20 within hours. So I would reckon it's a day.
Days.
But there's one thing very scary that you would, if you could stay alive, you would notice. A very peculiar kind of snow would start to fall. It wouldn't look like ordinary snow because it wouldn't be ice formed into ice crystals. It would be freezing out oxygen and nitrogen. So your atmosphere would actually snow onto the ground and leave you with a vacuum.
So if you just stood up, being 6 foot tall, your head would be in a vacuum, which wouldn't be nice. The only caveat, the interesting caveat, is there are things called geothermal vents at the bottom of the ocean, and there are little colonies of bacteria that live there. And that heat is actually powered by internal heating, radioactive decay actually, in the Earth's core. And so, given that there is a heat source internal to the Earth, it's possible that these bacteria around these geothermal vents could live for a long time.
Yes,
now, whether they could have evolved without the sun is a different matter. But there are some places, very cold places in the solar system, a moon of Jupiter called Europa, for example, which we think has got a liquid water ocean underneath an ice crust. That's too far away from the sun to have a liquid water ocean, except that going round Jupiter heats it up. So again, there's an internal heat source. So, you know, maybe some bacteria on these little geothermal vents deep in the ocean could live for quite a long time after you turn the sun off. But we'd last a few days.